Hey, this is Jeff Loomis from Arch Enemy, and you are watching Heavy New York.
Heavy New York!
What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are at the Hammerstein Ballroom, and today we are here with Jeff Loomis of Arch Enemy. Thank you so much for your time today, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
Of course. It's so awesome to have you here. Now that Will to Power is 2 years old, do you kind of have like an overall conclusion on this record cycle, and could we be expecting some new Arch Enemy soon?
Yeah. I mean, we've literally been on the road, like you said, for the last 2 years. Every show has been phenomenal. I think we're one of the busiest metal bands out there. I mean, we're constantly touring. So in 2020, we're basically going to take that time off to write and compose another album. And that's kind of our general plan as of now.
Interesting.
Yep.
When you came into Arch Enemy, being that Will to Power was your first time contributing to the group, I know that you really only contributed solos to it, but were you looking at like the previous catalog, looking at what Michael Amott has done and kind of adjusted your playing style to that, or did the band want you to bring a little bit of your own mix to the present?
I think that I executed the songs as they were recorded, learning-wise, but as far as leads go, I kind of added a little bit of my own touch to it, just a little bit, you know what I mean? Michael kind of gave me the freedom to go off a little bit on my own style, to make it sound like me, you know? So I do have that freedom a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
When it comes to the process of writing solos, is there like a music theory element behind it? Like I have to work off of this scale and this mode?
You
and
got to
this...
know what key you're in, you know?
Yeah.
Which I do know. I know that much at least. As far as like definitive theory and all that stuff to make it like all proper, I'm not really good at that. I'm more of an ear player, so I kind of focus on what sounds good. You know what I mean? I know what key I'm in, so I know generally around the neck where I'm supposed to be, but it really just calls more for the type of song that it is. You know, if it's a heavy song, I want to have something that's more, you know, angry, you know what I mean, and just kind of reaching out to the listener. If it's a more slower emotional song, obviously I'll slow it down a little bit. So it's really about the song,
of course,
and what it needs. You know,
so it's fair to say soloing. It seems like you have the perfect bridge where you know what you're doing, but there is some improvising around there, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I try to work out maybe half of the solo, but then improvise the other half. So it's a little bit of both worlds involved in that.
Okay,
Yeah.
Very interesting. What I'm curious is, you know, being such a prolific artist, Arch Enemy, Nevermore, so many other great bands, is it a different like mind frame, or is there kind of like a usual method behind the madness that goes to all your work?
You know, it's a definite different style of songwriting. You know what I mean? I think my songwriting differs a little bit as far as the Nevermore style to Arch Enemy. I've always been a fan of Arch Enemy. You know what I mean? We go way back, 20 years or something like that. We toured a lot together. Michael and I have been friends for like the last 22 years or something. So when he initially called me to join the band, it was kind of a no-brainer for me because being a fan of the band, I wanted to get back out there. I wanted to be in front of an audience, and he gave me that opportunity to do that. So I'm really happy to be kind of out in the limelight again, so to speak, to play for people. It's a lot of fun for me, you know?
Of course.
So
of course.
I like it.
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, this might not be like the most appropriate question to ask you specifically, but I mean, you know, Alyssa was in a lot of bands, and, you know, Michael Amott was in Carcass, you were in Nevermore and so many bands. I feel like that helps Arch Enemy maybe develop a little bit more experimentation, right?
I think so, you know? I think that for the next album, it'd be really cool if we all put our heads together and see what we can come up with musically. I think that would be really killer.
Of course.
It would be a very eclectic album, you know, different styles, you know.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, one question I'm really curious about is I've only seen Arch Enemy live once before. It was on the Trivium Fit for an Autopsy While She Sleeps tour.
Okay, so a couple years ago.
Yeah. You were in the band at that.
I was.
Yeah, yes.
I've been in the band 5 years now.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, like, one thing I'm curious about is, you know, seeing you live is very different from just simply listening to the album. You know what I mean?
Yep.
When it comes to executing your material live, is it a completely different strategy playing live versus in the studio?
It is. You know what I'm saying? Playing guitar sitting down and recording is much different than having your guitar strapped on you standing up. You know what I'm saying? It takes a lot of focus, you know? The songs aren't easy to play, you know? You have to be a good guitar player to be an Arch Enemy. You have to be able to execute proper things, you know? The dynamics need to be there for the leads and the harmonies. There's a lot going on. So it's hard. Yeah, playing live is a lot harder than it is being in the studio.
Of course. And it's a completely different energy, too, because you have to interact with the crowd.
You have to interact with the crowd. You're playing in front of a crowd, you know. It's like you're almost at a safe spot when you're recording in your own basement or something, or making a YouTube video, because you can make those mistakes and try it again. Live, it has to be perfect right away.
Yeah. Well, I think something is to be said, though. If you slightly botch a note live, at least the audience knows that you're real, you know what I mean?
That's what it's all about, man. You go to a live show to see just that, a live show.
Of course.
Yeah.
When it comes to songwriting, songwriting, do you have to put yourself in a certain atmosphere or a certain element for like to get into songwriting mode, or does inspiration kind of come spontaneously?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think that if you think too hard about it, it's not going to get you very far. You know what I mean? If you just like focus on something so hard that, you know, oh, I got to get this riff. When I write a riff, it's usually when I'm just sitting back at about 10 or 11 at night when nobody's around, the lights are down, you have your amp on, and you just kind of go for anything that's flying off the top of your head. I've always got the record button on because you never know when that spontaneous riff can pop out. And half of the good riffs that I've written have been just like that, where I've listened back to something and I'm like, that's killer, you know?
Yeah.
And then you kind of just like categorize that away in your notes and save that for a later time,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And the final question I wanted to ask you is, this is my favorite question to ask every artist because it's always the hardest question for everybody to answer.
Yep.
How do you know when a song is done?
That's a great question, dude. How do you know when a song is done? Well, I mean, I think that when you're in a band, everybody has input, you know? The vocalist, the bass player, the guitar players all have some sort of input in creating a piece. You know what I'm saying? And I think when finally everybody agrees on something at the end and says, yeah, that's it, that's when a piece is done.
Okay.
You can come up with the general ideas, of course, but it's not done until everybody puts their frosting on the cake, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the best answers. Like one person had no idea, so he just said, when I get the final mix back and it's like on an album.
There's more than that to me, you know? It's more than that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Yep.
So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just, you're doing this tour right now with Amon Amarth and At the Gates. Is there just anything else you would like to promote in terms of any possible up-and-coming tours, or when could we be expecting some new Arch Enemy?
New Arch Enemy in 2020 will be writing for the new album. I have a new website out, jeffloomis.net, that you can check out. I also have a new solo album that's going to be coming out in 2020.
Oh, really?
My third solo album. Just staying busy with music, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, look forward to hearing everything.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Everybody, we are here with Jeff Loomis of Arch Enemy. Pick up Will to Power if you haven't already. New solo record coming very soon. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.